I don't know. All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. I
Hi.
am here with Anna Levely, who is one of my very good friends and also one of my fellow independent authors. Here with Anna Levely, who is
Awesome.
one of my very good friends. Is my and also do I have it open on my thing? I do. I'm gonna turn that off now. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your book first?
Sure. So my book is about people who live about 1,000 years in the future around, and basically it's this dystopian sci-fi novel with a very dystopian heavy theme of basically, yeah, Atlia, the main character, she doesn't know all of these really horrible secrets about her society. She really believes in it and loves it. And then you slowly learn throughout the book all these things that are just not okay. And yeah, it's a fun ride. There's adventure and love, and there's also like sorrow. There's some deep issues in there that we are even dealing with today. And yeah, so that's my book.
So if I weren't already a vegetarian, this totally would have turned me into one. So
Oh,
why don't you elaborate on the vegan message and trying to get people to question the consumption of animal products?
sure. Yeah. So I originally wrote this. I mean, I think it's a story for everyone, not just vegans, but like everybody. And I think the reason why is like the crux or the inspiration was a vegan inspiration, because I thought there's nothing out like this that was like a real story. Like there's Animal Farm and there's like some other books that kind of have this issue, but there wasn't really like a story, like a story you could like fall in love with and want to follow and go through. And the vegan inspiration, I mean, it happened because I am vegan, and in our daily lives, we see these things. I mean, this is actually pretty much like how vegans feel in our daily lives. And I think, family members often don't consider that, or friends, they're like, oh, you're being sensitive. But I think when you read it from the point of view of, Atlia, I think you really connect with the character and you start going like, oh, wait a second, I can understand why they're like this. And also it talks about the current industry today and might make you think as well. Yeah, and so that's kind of how the vegan theme came about.
Well, that is really cool. So you tell us of a very far distant future world. So with it's like not only technologically more advanced than the world as we know it, but also just very different in a lot of ways. So what are some of the like even people's names are nothing like what they are in the world as we know it. So, what made you decide to give characters really crazy names that are nothing like the world as we know it, and even have terms like, instead of mother and father, they're like really different words? What was the sort of the inspiration for that?
Well, I really wanted to do it from the point of view of Atlia. And I said it, beyond our time, because I imagined how long would it take for this community to realize these problems? And then also, how long could they hide them for? So I was thinking like, you could hide them for a pretty long time, actually. so I imagined like, okay, so if this is that far in the future, like what would that future look like? Like what would we fathom? And, it's kind of fun is that like, so this is the first book in the series. But then I also was like, oh my God, there's so much in this world that I want to build off of. So there's short stories that I'm writing on my website. So there will be giving like more background to like the story if people are like into that and they want to read more about like the world of beasts. But yeah, like there's like so much you can do with it. There's just so much. And there's actually a lot of intricacies. No, I mean, me being the author, knowing the whole series, I'm like, of course, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And I can't wait to share all the secrets with everyone. But in the first novel, I did have to make sure it was set in Atlia's point of view. It was set in, like what she was doing and how she kind of has to keep going like throughout the entire book. She really has like barely any rest time. Like maybe like two parts of the book she's like kind of resting. But most of the book she's like she's got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, it's a very action-packed and very fast-paced book, which is a good thing, I think, in my
Uh,
opinion. Um, so let me think here. Um, what, because you did mention that there are um, some things in your life that did influence the story in a way. Is there anything or any of those things that you can elaborate on, I guess?
yeah, I mean, different, like, especially veganism. I mean, there's a lot of that I have influenced my life, in a direct way. And then also, I mean, being queer, that's also fairly new to me, as I know it's new to you as well. And like, well, not very new to you. You're like a pro now. Me, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, and like there was something about writing that and being able to kind of live that through Atlia that was really satisfying and like helpful. And I feel like another thing too was there's some really difficult scenes in there that definitely pull from my trauma, because I have PTSD. And so some of those scenes they're me, some of them, and then some of them aren't. Some of them are just made up, but from the using my pain as fuel, I guess, to make something good.
Yeah, definitely good to use your pain as fuel, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so let me see. Do you have any other thoughts about your book that you would like to throw out there?
I mean, I think it's fun because it's a first book, but again, it doesn't tell everything, and I can't wait to like share the whole story with everybody. I think that's going to be really cool. Is once everybody sees like how it all comes together, they're going to just be like, "Whoa!" Like this is way bigger than we thought it was. Like this is like a drop. It's like the first Harry Potter book where you're just like, oh, "Okay, cool," and then all of a sudden it's like this whole world comes about.
That's a good comparison.
Thanks. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then I want to interview you
Okay.
and your wonderful novel, Unicorn Hunting. And I want to know what your inspiration was. What was your inspiration for the book?
Well, oddly enough, I kind of just thought that it would be cool to have something about unicorn hunters because that's not something you really think of. I mean,
No.
it is. It's something that a lot of people kind of think about in passing, like, oh, of course, like, unicorns can't hurt virgins, so wouldn't they hunt them? Wouldn't they be the ideal people to hunt them? But it's also something that you don't think about in much the same way, just because
Yeah.
unicorns are like nice and people just think they're cute and cuddly. And so I just started thinking like that would be really cool. So I started thinking like, what kind of setting should this take place in? Should it just be a fantasy or should it be like, I very briefly thought it could be in modern day, but then I thought, no way. Like, and even then, like, what kind of fantasy world? And then the whole thing just kind of came together pretty quickly from just the idea, like the barest inkling of the idea, basically.
That's really cool. What else was I thinking? I'm kind of hearing myself echo, just by the way, just to let you know.
Weird.
Yeah. But we've been having trouble with technology lately, so
Yes, we have. We tried to do this for anyone new watching. We tried to do this on Instagram, and we tried to do this on Facebook, and it didn't work. And I don't know, on Instagram it worked, but we couldn't hear each other at all, and everyone else could hear Anna and not me. And I was like, well, I can't even hear anything. Like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so that was kind of weird. But anyway, so here we are on YouTube.
Yes, here we are. And now back to unicorn hunting. So I was actually really intrigued by the whole virgin thing because I actually didn't know that. I mean, I'm guessing it's in Greek mythology or mythology just in general that like unicorns and virgins like go together, or
yeah, pretty much. I mean, it kind of depends on what you read. In some places it's like, oh, they can't hurt them, or oh, virgins are the only ones who can see the unicorns. It just depends on what it is that you're like, what sort of source material you're looking at. But I'm not sure how the unicorns and virgins even going together it originally came about, because unicorns originally came about because somebody saw an antelope with a missing horn and thought, oh no, it's a unicorn. And somebody else saw, and then one day Marco Polo saw a rhinoceros and said, oh wow, unicorns are nothing like people have been telling me. It's like rolling in the mud. What's it doing? And
that's pretty funny. So where did you so a lot of the unicorns have very interesting personalities. What would you say their like the king's personality is like?
I don't know. I mean, the unicorns are pretty they're sort of more of a hive mind than like individuals in a way in this book, and so they don't have like personalities per se, but then the unicorn king is like the unicorn that's in charge and makes the decisions for all of the other unicorns. And he like, it's kind of, Cal has a very interesting relationship with the unicorn king because it's a unicorn that kind of cares about her as a person, but at the same time is just using her as like a tool to get his kind to their world. And so it's pretty odd that way, that they do rely on each other in a lot of ways, but they're not like friendly.
So it's begrudgingly kind of, would you say it's like kind of like a begrudging relationship?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed Cal is kind of like open to it, like, okay, like I guess, like this is what I'm gonna do.
She never particularly wanted to hunt the unicorns in the first place. She's kind of just there by default and doesn't know what she's doing. So
right. That's funny. And so, where would you say you are in this book? Like, did you write yourself into any of these characters?
Well, I think there are elements of myself in several of the characters. I mean, with Cal being the main character, I mean, her personality and mine are not much alike at all. But through her, I did kind of write my experience having experienced like having extreme feelings for a girl for the first time and discovering like why that was happening. And then, I mean, in the character of Sura, I mean, she's kind of the whole reason that she becomes such a crazy person, for lack of wanting to spoil anything too much, is basically because she's been the awkward third friend when her friends didn't intend for her to be that at all.
Right.
But it's her own perception that she finds herself to be like that random third wheel every time she's hanging out with her friends, but she's actually not. She's Cal's best friend. And that other girl, she's just Cal's crush. Like, she's not her best friend, but Sura is her best friend, but she feels like since she's not Adrian, she's just kind of that random chick. And so I always felt like a random chick in many of my friendships. And so I guess in that way, I guess that's something that a lot of us can kind of empathize with too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I really liked the tension between those two. That was really interesting. Like, I mean, like, honestly, I think it was like the most shocking part to me, like, of the book. It was like, what? And then also I wanted to talk about your very explicit scene in your book. That everybody has to read. I'm not going to say what it is, but like I want to know what kind of like drove you to that point. What was like, okay, this needs to be in here. This is like a important, part of this.
It was just something that had to happen because it affects the rest of the plot. And so it didn't come from anything that I was thinking at the time, but it is one of those scenes where I remember exactly where I was when I wrote it and just the whole deal. Like, I remember I was sitting in my college dorm and I was typing out that scene and going, this is a very weird scene. What's my mom gonna think? Like, good thing my grandparents are never gonna read this. They'd think I was crazy. Like, all kinds of stuff.
I think all writers
But as an
Yeah.
author, you have to let go of your responsibility to what is going on the page. You can't think to yourself, "Oh no, what are people going to think of me when they see this," and all of that stuff. But it's something that's so hard to do.
Oh yeah.
I never realized just how hard that was to do until I wrote that.
That was really good. I was really surprised. I was surprised by Sarah. I was like, really? Whoa. And if you haven't read the book yet, you should totally go and buy the book right now on Amazon. Like, absolutely. Because that's just even just to hear that story, it's amazing. And then also, one of the things I was wondering too was like, so are you like excited for the second one? Like, are we looking towards the future here, or?
Yeah, the second one is about halfway done being written at this point. I was really hoping to get a completed draft of it by the end of 2018, which may still happen, totally possible. So yeah, and it's very, very awesome because it is very different from the first one.
Ooh, I like that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, because it's not going to be in necessarily the same place. Like the characters are all going to have developed and everything because of the events of the first book. They're all not quite the same people. And then also some, a lot of things. We have a lot of new characters showing up, and, our main characters get betrayed by new people and have to, fight some new people. Okay.
Oh boy, I can't wait. And so who's your favorite character? If you can pick one character.
Gosh, that's kind of difficult, but obviously I like Cal because she's the main character and she is such a typical teenager, and I think that she's great and complex in so many ways. But I think that I really like Sura a lot as well, especially with the role that she plays in the second book. Because she's developed so much as a person pretty much this entire time. So I think that in writing the second book, I'm starting to really like Sura extra much. It's
really, wow, that's surprising. That's intriguing.
Yeah, at the beginning of the first book, she was never the type of person who would stand up for herself or anything, and now she's kicking butt, like by the end of the first book even. So
yeah, I wonder though if she's gonna kick butt in a good way or a bad way, though. I guess we'll just have to see.
Or possibly both.
Oh no,
neither.
Neither. She's not doing anything. And then I wanted to ask if you have any social issues that you feel like you've included in your book in unicorn hunting.
Well, I guess just, not necessarily social issues, I would say, but things like, to question everything and don't just, take your parents' word for, yeah, hunt unicorns. It's totally going to give you a great future or whatever. And then, and then also things like, I guess the inequality that women still face today. Even though we've come a long way since the type of world that unicorn hunting takes place in, in this world, in that world, women are highly underestimated to the point where no one even hires them. So they have to go hunt unicorns, which is kind of a bit more dangerous than most of them want to do. So in a way, there are a lot of themes about equality of women. There is a dog scratching at my door right now.
I hear him. He's like, let me in, Mom.
And he knows how to open doors, so hopefully he won't open.
So he gets first in? This is going to be amazing. He is your unicorn.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
I almost put a horn on him for a video, but I didn't end up doing that.
He probably wouldn't have minded. He'd be like, okay.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, thank you. That's all the questions I had. Thank you so much for the interview. Thank you so much
too. I've got to post this on all the social media that we meant to earlier.
Yeah. Oh, where do people follow you?
What?
Or how can people follow you on social media? List off your social media.
Well, first of all, here on YouTube, and second of all, on my Twitter and my Instagram, all of that stuff. Why don't you tell us about your social media?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I think and YouTube. I'm not as cool as Kat on YouTube or Roya. Sorry, I'm so bad. We're good friends, so it's just I get confused. But yeah, I'm not as like cool as Roya on YouTube. But yeah, it's just under Anna Lovely, Levley. A lot of people spell it Lovely, believe it or not. Like Anna Lovely.
Links will be down below in post-production.
That's probably a good idea.
Well, it's not really post-production. It's not being edited in any particular way. It's just there.
They don't need to know that. This is extremely complicated, all of this. Almost impossible. Awesome.
Well, anyway, anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think unicorn hunting is awesome and everyone should buy it.
All right. Well, I will see you guys soon with a new video. Go and follow Anna and pre-order her book. It comes out August 20th. And we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.